Same lines, but I have a different question. The fix you showed, for instance, for Social Security, would play right into the problem, if you ask me, because you're going to take more from the people who are going to fund their own retirement. And at their retirement, you're going to say, you funded your own retirement, so you can't have any of what you contributed. We're going to give that to the person who spent all their money all their life and didn't fund their retirement. So that's just a comment.
Yeah.
But my real question to you though is, I agree with, I think everybody would be willing to put in a little more revenue. If they really thought that Congress wouldn't rise to the occasion and find a way to spend that revenue, as opposed to reducing the deficit. Because historically, that's all that's ever happened. So how do you deal with it?
And I agree with that. And that's why what we're suggesting is having some cap that's based on GDP or whatever. So then mathematically you couldn't go over the cap. Because otherwise, I agree with you. I've seen it my whole career. You give them more money, they'll spend it. And to your other point about the Social Security piece, my dad came from Italy, so I'm a first generation here. And I still remember many years ago when he started doing an IRA, and he said to me, he goes, you know what I fear, Ernie? He goes, I fear that we build this all up and our government's going to say, I don't need to provide for you because you put your money aside in your IRA. And look where we've come. Part of it is exactly that. But, you know, we come to a point where, and I don't know what that number will be, but say in Social Security, we'll say your benefits will be reduced over a certain income level, whatever the number is. I mean, I certainly don't agree with this magical number of 250,000, whatever it is, because I don't know. Myself, I don't think that's rich, but I did when I was 18, but now I don't.
Before you had money.
Before I made money, but no, you look at it. There's going to be some balance, and whatever that number is, no one will ever agree on, and you won't agree if you're above it, and everyone below it will, thank God they went there and above. But I think it has to be addressed because Social Security was originally designed, I forgot who the person was, whether it was Napoleon or it was, I think, French who did it. It's a French general after the war, designed the Social Security system as we know it today. He basically said, what's the length of time that a military member will live after they step down from full-time being military? And they said basically it was probably another 5 years. So let's say that it was 60 years old, and live another 5 years. He goes, well, let's pay them for the next 2 years. And that's how it started, that they would pay for a certain amount of their life expectancy. We're all living longer now. And so it really doesn't get adjusted. People are collecting Social Security for a much longer period. And I know even pensions, cities and towns that we're dealing with, I've got some police officers. I have a fire chief who retired after 20 years. So he started when he was like 20. So at 40 years old, he retired. They have a 6% COLA. Imagine 6% COLA. We all know it'll double 3 times in his lifetime. He's retired, living in Florida. He doesn't even stay in Rhode Island paying Rhode Island tax. He lives in Florida because there's no income tax on it. He makes over $200,000 a year, retired. More than a firefighter gets working on the street today. So one of the things I've been proposing, and it isn't going over that well, but I think it makes sense. If you're an example, you're a sergeant in the police department, you were a sergeant when you retired. Your retirement, you should not be getting paid more than a sergeant working in the street today. But we have almost everyone getting paid double what the police officer today is. It doesn't make any sense. But you know, try to take that stuff away, and they pick it outside when I speak. Yes. Oh, you ought to see when I testify, they all line up after me and chop my head off.
I'd like to allude to one of the graphs you brought up that had the healthcare being taxable and mortgage taking that deduction away. There are some that would say that doing that would cause more ramifications than keeping them in place. What do you say to those people?
Well, again, from a policy point of view, we always have to decide if, in fact, the policymakers decide that it have more of a negative impact on our economy. Say, okay, then where are you getting the money from? Because something else has to go. We all know we have to make priority decisions every day in our life. So just make a whole laundry list of them. And if you start to rank them and you see where the consensus is, you say, well, People seem to be able to digest a little bit more, wiping out these three things. So let's take those. Those are easy. Then we got this group in the middle that, can I get at least a few people to jump over the line to be 50%? Again, talking to economists and say, what's the negative impact? Because if we're going to have a robust discussion, that truly means you shooting holes in my argument. And if yours is that, okay, Ernie, you'll pick up $500 billion, but we're going to lose $600 billion because values of homes will go down, the industry will lose money, the real estate brokers, their income will go down, all these other people, we have to figure that out and see, does it make sense? And that's why I say all decisions should be data-driven decision making, not seat of the pants. Run the numbers. When you disagree, you say, okay, here's the information, you run it. It's not that easy. But the net effect, I hope all our decisions are made, net effect is we're actually saving money. Because it would not make sense to me if we save $500 billion and that is $600 billion negative effect. We wouldn't make that decision any day in our business world. So I can't answer your question because I don't know what all the facts are, but that's the way decisions should be made in my world.
Because that's exactly how they would be firing back at you.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I would say prove it. And when they prove it, then I can go and test how they say it's going to have a negative impact on the economy. Just prove it. I'm proving my side, you prove yours. Yes? Did you have a question or no? You did?
Yeah, I did. Actually, is there anybody in government today that you know subscribes to this? To some of your...
Well, I'm all
how
alone.
could you find
Actually, Simpson Bowles, that whole group, and I think it was originally a gang of 7 and a gang of 6. I think they're now up to a gang of about 10 or 11. More senators and congressmen getting involved. And I believe here is Warner, Senator Warner. He has been pretty outspoken on that too. David Walker, the former Comptroller General, he's out there talking about it. I know he had a meeting with one of the presidential candidates. I'm not sure which one. There's more and more people talking about it. You don't have to do everything that's in this list, but I really believe this next time that they will address it. I actually, for the first time ever, next year, I think people will start to address it because they're starting to see now that it is real and it's getting worse. I think the earlier they do it in their term, politically it would be a smarter move because for United States senators, they serve 6 years. So if they do it the first year, you might forget 5 years from now how painful it was. And you might see the positive part coming back and you be more accepting of it. But it's...
But you still have the people that sign the no tax pledge that further north was
see, in my world, that's your problem for signing the document. So I'll try to find everyone else besides you, but I'll try to convince you with logic that you should move from the signature. And maybe the thing is, because I'm a realist, I've been around a long time and as an advisor being the Auditor General, if I can get your vote, say, to move people in the right direction, we'll maybe try to find a way to give you political cover so you can survive from doing this. It may be a way to get it done so that you don't hang all by yourself. So however that gets done, and there is all kinds of mechanisms to do that, find a way to do that to protect you. Because if we want to advance the country forward, we have to get a majority to vote for it. And what's the problem if I say next election, 20 of us will come to your state and walk around with you? And again, I'm assuming that helps. But we'll walk around with you and try to help you get elected. But they probably say, who cares about this guy coming from Rhode Island or Northern Virginia and saying, I'm with him? You say, so what? Go back. But I would say the number of people are growing that understand about the problem. And there's a whole group of people who believe that, it's just a little piece of ice that fell in the ocean will have no major impact except for spilling water all over itself. But anyways, any other questions? I know I'm almost at the end of time, but not the end of time. 5 minutes?